Hello, colleagues. So today I will be discussing about Echinococcosis. Basically, it's a tapeworm, a parasitic tapeworm that infects animals and humans. So this is the overview of the whole presentation, where I will be talking more about the Echinococcosis, the classification, etymology, epidemiology, pathogenesis, clinical manifestation, the life cycle, laboratory diagnosis, treatment, prevention and control, and lastly, preference. So, this is a presentation where it contains a lot of information. So, I'll be briefly giving you a summary about the whole of the presentation. So, basically, this is how an echinocosis looks like. The length varies from 1.5 to 7 millimeters in length. So it consists of hooks and suckers. Basically, all parasite worms consist of that for their better survival in the environment. It has a neck, an immature segment, the mature segment. It contains testes and ovary, also uterus and zygotes. So the introduction or more about the Echinococcus. So basically, tapeworm in the genus Echinococcus are the source of echinococcosis, sometimes also known as the hydate disease, a zoonotic parasite illness. It also affects the animals, the cattle, the humans, making it a major medical concern and a veterinary concern, causing yeast and the hydrate lesions in the liver and the lungs. It consists of two hosts, definitive and the intermediate host. So definitive host mostly involves the dogs and the other canines. This is how they transmit the transmission mode. Sorry, the transmission mode is basically where they pass the eggs to the feces, and the intermediate host where sheep, goats, pigs, cattle, humans, camels, and other animals they transmit. They get the infected eggs in their body. And birds and arthropods are basically they act as the medical vectors. Moving on to the classification, so Anakinchon, apologies, Anakinchonus. So it's the genus of the tapeworm and causes the parasitic worm in the echinocosis in the humans and the animals. It belongs to the class of Cassododia, which are the parasitic flatworms, which is part of the phylum Patahelminthus. The etiology of the Echinococcosis. So basically, it contains three species: Echinococcus ganculosus, which is the common form, causes cyst echinocosis. Echinococcus multicoccus. I have a very hard time pronouncing all these long words. Most virulent causes the alveolar echinocosis and Echinococcus volgili and occult. Apologies, you can pronounce it your own words. Causes polycystatic echinocosis, which is basically rare. Moving on to the epidemiology, so cyst, it is mostly found in the areas where the raising cattle are very common, and also in South America, the Mediterraneans, the Eastern Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and the Central East. All these parts, this is mostly present in the animals and humans. So the transport hotspot is where the people are mostly directed to the wildlife. For the alveolar, it is mostly restricted to distributed distribution compared to the cyst. So predominantly found in the northern hemisphere and also the North America, the Russia, China, and also the high risk of the areas of these rural and forested regions where humans are mostly overlapping with the wildlife activities. And lastly, the polycystatic. So it's basically rare and mostly found in the Central and the South America, particularly in areas and dense rainforest. This is the overview of where the distribution of Echinococcosis go gynecologist and the cyst echinococcologist worldwide. Moving on to the main part of the presentation, which is the pathogenesis, how the we will talk about how these are the transmission mode of these flatworms. So basically, it is the interactions between the intermediate host, which is the humans, and definitive host, which is the canids and the dogs, presenting in various forms. So the first step is where the life cycle and the initial infection starts. So basically, it begins with the indefinitive host harboring in the adult tapeworms, releasing eggs in their feces, contaminating food, water, or in contact. So the intermediate host, they ingest the eggs through contaminated food or water, which causes the eggs to be ingested in the body. So the egg ingestion and ingestion and liver development. Apologies. So basically, the Echinococcosis eggs hatch in the host small intestine, releasing the conosphere, means basically the embryo, which enters the bloodstream of in the intermediate host, causing migrating to the various organs, and also the cyst formation since the embryos are present in the blood system. It affects the organs such as liver, lungs, brain, developing and forming yeast. So basically, the yeast cystatic forms the fluid filled cyst, where the alveolar forms the tumor-like structures. So I have divided into two parts: the pathogenesis of the cyst and the alveolar. So basically, in the cyst, where the this cystatic, where the cysts are grown and causing pressure in the surrounding tissue, and also causes various symptoms and also allergic reaction. For more, you can read the detailed of the transmission mode. And for alveoli, it's the invasive growth, the tissue destruction, immune invasion, and response. Basically, a malignant tumor is formed, causing the organ failure, and also it also multiplies in the organs, which also leads to the tumor forming the solid tumor-like structures. Moving on to the clinical manifestation, so the cyst echinococcosis, which only affect not only it mostly affects the liver and the lungs, with the less common sites of kidney, spleen, heart, bones, and nervous system. The secondary infection also occur in the liver tissues, and new cyst forms. So basically, symptoms causes a rupture or the leakage, leading to the acute and intermittent allergic reaction. For alveoli, primary infections mostly often occur in the liver and often on the right loop, which can mimic the hepatic coma. So the secondary infection mostly extend to the contagious organs and to the and metastasis to the lungs and the liver. Symptoms includes hepatology, right, epigastric pain, nausea, vomiting, and liver failure. This is the life cycle of the cystatic acantholysis. So basically, as whatever we stated in the pathogenesis, it's basically in the geometric form. It's much more easier to learn, and If you find this easier, go ahead and learn whatever mode you love. And this is the diagram of the alveoli echinococcosis. Moving on to the laboratory diagnosis. So basically, for the cystatic, which includes the mainly includes serologic test, radiography, and non-invasive imaging techniques. So in serologic tests such as ELSA, it is used, and hemoagglutination test, it is used to detect the infection. Radiography and ultrasonography, which is used for clinical screening and monitoring of treatment monitoring, and also non-invasive imaging techniques. It is mostly involved the CT scans, the MRI, and the ultrasounds in to find out the presence of the cyst in the fully filled cyst in most organs. For alveoli echinococcosis, mostly technically consist of the solid tumors as discussed in the pathogenesis. So radiographs and serologic tests are being used. For radiographs, obviously to detect the tumor, and serologist test to detect the distinctions between the both of these species. Moving on to the treatment for cystatic, it's there are two major treatment, which is surgery, where the albendazole is used to given before the surgery to manipulate the cyst, and also basically this is also used. Um, this is a most recommended. It's a treatment for cystatic echinococcosis. And also chemotherapy with benzimidazoles, cyst puncture, and pair. The long form is stated. It's also has been replaced as effective treatment. So basically, treatment is varies to the cyst characteristics, size, and the complications. But as recommended, surgery is the best recommended treatment for cystatic. For alveoli enkyconocosis is basically chemotherapy, radiosurgery, and continuous benzim, benzimidazole treatment. Continuous treatment inhibited the progression and reduced the lesion size. And lastly, how to prevent and control this transmission of the parasitic eggs into the intermediate host. Basically, proper handling of animals, especially dogs, since it is known as the indefinitive host, means the main mode of transmission. Uh, Especially in dogs, and proper disposal animal feces. Number two, avoid overcooking or undercooked or raw meat, and also wash your fruits and vegetables. Number three is regular deworming your dogs, and number four, public health education on basic hygiene. So that's the end of our presentation. For more, if you want to know more about this species, or you can always refer back to the reference list that is provided in the screen above, on the screen, and know more about the echinococcosis platform. And thank you all for viewing my presentation. Hope you learned something or more about echinococcosis, and all the best for your exams. Thank you.